For 3 years I lived in my own daughter's house, and for 3 years I wished I was dead. Every morning I woke up hoping the good Lord would take me home, because the pain of being betrayed by your own flesh and blood cuts deeper than any physical wound ever could. My name is Dorothy Mae Williams, and I'm about to tell you how my daughter nearly destroyed me, and how a single phone call saved my life. What I'm about to share with you happened to me, but it's happening to millions of elderly people right now, trapped in their own homes, suffering in silence. Before I begin my story, let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is. I just want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you feel moved by what you hear, consider subscribing. It helps more people become aware of the reality of elder abuse. Now let me tell you what really happened. It all started 3 years ago. On a Tuesday morning that seemed like any other. I was 69 years old then, living in my little house on Maple Street where I'd raised my children and taught Sunday school for 37 years. That morning, I was watering my tomato plants in the back garden when my foot caught on the garden hose. The fall itself wasn't dramatic. I just went down hard on my right hip, and I knew immediately something was wrong. The pain shot through me like lightning, and I couldn't get up. I lay there in the dirt between my tomato plants for what felt like hours, calling out for help until my neighbor Mrs. Patterson heard me and called 911. At the hospital they told me I had fractured my hip. The doctor, a young man who reminded me of my grandson, explained that while the surgery went well, my recovery would take months. "You're going to need help, Mrs. Williams," he said gently. "Daily assistance with cooking, cleaning, getting around. Do you have family nearby?" That's when my daughter Maggie appeared at my bedside like an angel of mercy. She'd driven 4 hours from her home in the city as soon as she heard about my accident. "Don't you worry about anything, Mama," she said, squeezing my hand. "You're coming home with me. I'll take care of everything." I should have been grateful, and at first I was. Maggie had always been my more troubled child. While her sister Janet became a nurse and her brother Michael went into teaching like me, Maggie struggled with addiction in her 20s and had a series of failed relationships. She'd been clean for 5 years by then, working at a retail store and living in a small apartment. When she offered to care for me, it felt like a chance for us to heal old wounds. "I want to make up for all the worry I caused you, Mama," she told me as she helped pack my things. "Let me be the daughter you deserved all along." Those words wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket. Every mother wants to believe their child can change, that love can overcome any past hurt. So I sold my little house on Maple Street, the place where I'd been happy for 40 years, and moved in with Maggie. The first few months weren't terrible. Maggie had moved into a larger apartment with 2 bedrooms, and she set up the second room nicely for me. She helped me with my physical therapy appointments and cooked meals that reminded me of my own mother's cooking. We watched our evening programs together, and sometimes she'd ask me to tell her stories about when she was little, but slowly things began to change. It started small. Maggie would get irritated when I asked questions about my mail or wanted to know about my bank statements. "Mama, I'm handling all that now," she'd say with an edge to her voice. "You don't need to worry yourself about these things anymore." When I insisted I wanted to see my own Social Security checks and pension payments, she'd sigh heavily and roll her eyes. "You don't trust me. After everything I'm doing for you." She'd leave the room, and I'd feel guilty for even asking. Then she started monitoring my phone calls. If Janet or Michael called, Maggie would hover nearby, listening to every word. If I talked too long, she'd tap her watch and give me pointed looks. "Your family calls are running up my phone bill, Mama," she'd say later. "Maybe we should limit them to once a week." The isolation crept in gradually. My church friends would call, but Maggie would tell them I was too tired for visitors or that I was having a bad day with my hip. After a while, they stopped calling. My bridge club invited me to their weekly games, But Maggie insisted I wasn't ready to leave the apartment yet. "You don't want to fall again, do you, Mama?" she'd say. "I'm just looking out for you." By the end of my first year with Maggie, I realized I hadn't left the apartment in 4 months except for doctor visits. My world had shrunk to 4 walls, a television, and my daughter's increasingly short temper. But the real nightmare was just beginning. The second year with Maggie was when her true nature revealed itself. It started with money. It always does with people like my daughter. One morning, I asked to see my bank statements because I wanted to send my great-nephew a birthday card with some money inside. Maggie slammed the papers down on the kitchen table so hard that my coffee cup rattled. "Mima, you're spending money we don't have," she snapped. "Do you know how much your medications cost? How much I'm paying for your special foods and your physical therapy? You're bleeding me dry." I stared at those bank statements, confused. My Social Security and pension should have been more than enough to cover my expenses, with plenty left over. But according to these papers, my account was nearly empty. "Where did my money go, Maggie?" I asked quietly. Her face changed then. The fake sweetness disappeared, and for a moment, I saw something cold and calculating in her eyes that made my blood run cold. "Your money." She laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. "Mama, that money goes to keeping you alive. Food, rent, utilities, medicine. Do you think this is all free? You're lucky I love you enough to take care of you when nobody else wanted the burden." A burden. That word hit me like a slap across the face. From that day forward, Maggie's mask slipped more and more. When I asked about visiting my sister Janet, who lived 2 hours away, Maggie exploded. "Janet doesn't want to see you, Mama. None of them do. Why do you think I'm the only one who took you in? They all think you're too much trouble." When I protested that Janet called me regularly and always asked when I could visit, Maggie's voice turned cruel. "She calls out of guilt, Mama. She told me herself she's grateful I'm handling you so she doesn't have to." I didn't believe her, but doubt crept into my heart like poison. Had my children really seen me as a burden? Was Maggie the only one who truly loved me? The verbal attacks became daily occurrences. If I left my water glass on the coffee table, I was messy and inconsiderate. If I asked for help reaching something, I was needy and demanding. If I wanted to watch a different television program, I was selfish and ungrateful. No wonder Daddy left. She said one particularly cruel evening after I'd asked if we could call Janet, "You probably nagged him to death too." Her father, my ex-husband, had left when Maggie was 12, not because of me, but because of his own drinking problem. But Maggie twisted that old wound like a knife, making me question everything about my past, my worth, my relationships with my children. The physical neglect started subtly. My prescription medications would run out and Maggie would forget to pick them up for days. "The pharmacy is expensive, Mama. Maybe you don't need all those pills anyway." My arthritis medicine, my blood pressure medication, she treated them like luxuries instead of necessities. She stopped helping me with my hair so it grew wild and unkempt. She stopped buying me proper clothes, so my few outfits became worn and stained. When I asked about these things, she'd sigh dramatically. "Mama, you're not going anywhere. Why do you need to look fancy? You're just wasting money on vanity." I began to feel like I was disappearing, becoming invisible even to myself. But the worst part was how she turned my love against me. Whenever I tried to stand up for myself or ask questions, she'd break down in tears. "After everything I've sacrificed for you, Mama, I gave up my life, my friends, my chance at happiness to take care of you. And this is how you repay me, by questioning me and making me feel terrible." She'd cry and carry on until I felt so guilty that I'd apologize and promise to be more grateful. It was a cycle that left me confused and emotionally exhausted. Some nights, I'd lie in my bed listening to Maggie on the phone with her friends, complaining about me. "She's so difficult," I'd hear her say. "Demanding and ungrateful. I don't know how much more I can take." But when morning came, she'd act like nothing had happened. bringing me breakfast with a smile that never reached her eyes. The isolation became complete. My phone calls were monitored, my mail was screened, my visitors were turned away. Maggie told everyone I was having memory problems and getting confused easily, so when I did manage to talk to family, they treated me like I was fragile and unreliable. By the middle of my second year with Maggie, I felt like a prisoner in that apartment. Worse than a prisoner, I felt like a ghost, existing but not really living, taking up space in a world that seemed to have no place for me anymore. That's when I started praying every night for God to take me home. I'd close my eyes and imagine being reunited with my parents, my late husband, all the people who had truly loved me. Death seemed like freedom compared to the hell my life had become. But God, it seems, had other plans for me. It was on a Thursday afternoon in March when my granddaughter Becca called, and that call would change everything. I hadn't spoken to her in months. Maggie always had excuses when Becca tried to reach me. Grandma's napping, or she's having a bad day with her memory, or the doctor said she needs to rest. But that particular Thursday Maggie had gone out to run errands, and she'd forgotten to take my phone with her like she usually did. When it rang and I saw Becca's name on the screen, my heart nearly jumped out of my chest. "Grandma!" Her voice was like sunshine after months of darkness. "Oh my goodness, I've been trying to reach you for so long." Rebecca was my oldest granddaughter, Maggie's daughter from her first relationship. She was 28 now, working as a registered nurse in Seattle, thousands of miles away from the little apartment where I was slowly dying inside. She'd always been special to me, bright, caring, and strong in ways her mother had never been. "Becca, honey," I whispered, afraid Maggie might hear me even though she wasn't home. "I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too, Grandma. Mom keeps saying you're too tired to talk or that you're not feeling well. Are you okay? You sound different." Something in her voice, the genuine concern, the love I hadn't heard in so long, broke something loose inside me. For a moment, I considered telling her everything. But then I heard Maggie's car in the driveway and fear grabbed my throat. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just tired, like your mama says." "Grandma, I'm worried about you. I've been thinking about flying out to visit, but every time I mention it to Mom, she says it's not a good time." When would be a good time? Maggie's key turned in the lock, and I felt panic rise in my chest. "I have to go, honey. Your mama's home." "Wait, Grandma." I hung up just as Maggie walked through the door. She looked at me suspiciously, seeing the phone in my hands. "Who were you talking to, Mama?" "Nobody. Wrong number." I lied, and I hated myself for lying to protect her. But that brief conversation with Becca planted a seed. For the first time in months, I remembered what it felt like to be loved without conditions, without manipulation, without cruelty. Her voice reminded me of who I used to be, Dorothy Mae Williams, the woman who taught school for 30 years, who raised 3 children, who survived poverty and racism and the death of her husband, who was strong and capable and worthy of respect. Over the next few weeks, I found myself thinking about that conversation more and more. I started remembering other things too, how Becca used to call me every Sunday when she was in nursing school, how she'd send me pictures of her life in Seattle, how she'd always told me I was her role model for strength and grace. Had Maggie been lying about my family not wanting me? Had she been keeping me from people who actually loved me? One evening, about a month after that phone call, Maggie was in one of her particularly cruel moods. I had accidentally knocked over a water glass while reaching for my evening pills, and she exploded. "Jesus Christ, Mama! Can't you do anything right? Look at this mess! I work all day, and I come home to clean up after you like you're a child." She grabbed paper towels and started cleaning up the water, muttering under her breath about how useless I was, how much trouble I caused, how she should just put me in a nursing home where I belonged. "Maybe that would be better," I said quietly. "Maybe I would be happier somewhere else." Maggie's head snapped up, and her eyes were blazing. "Happier? You think some nursing home is going to treat you better than your own daughter. Those places are where people go to die, Mama. The staff ignores you, steals from you, leaves you sitting in your own filth. Is that what you want?" She stood up, towering over me as I sat in my chair. "Because if that's what you want, I can arrange it. But don't come crying to me when you realize how good you had it here. Don't expect me to visit you or answer your phone calls when you're rotting away in some Medicaid facility." Her words scared me, but they also sparked something I hadn't felt in a long time: anger. Not at myself, but at her. How dare she talk to her mother this way? How dare she threaten me with abandonment as punishment for wanting basic dignity? That night, lying in my bed, I made a decision. The next time Becca called, if there was a next time, I was going to tell her the truth. All of it. No matter what Maggie threatened, no matter what consequences I faced, I couldn't live this way anymore. I was 72 years old. I deserved better than this, even if it meant facing the unknown. 3 weeks later, God answered my prayer in the most unexpected way. The unexpected way came on a Friday evening in late April. Maggie had gotten a call from her friend Lisa, who was having some kind of crisis and needed Maggie to come over immediately. I heard Maggie on the phone, agitated and frustrated. "I can't just leave her alone, Lisa. What if something happens?" There was a pause. "Fine, fine. But this better be important." She hung up and turned to me with that familiar look of annoyance. "I have to go help Lisa with something. You're not to answer the phone, you understand? And don't even think about trying to leave this apartment." "Where would I go, Maggie?" I asked quietly. "I can barely walk to the bathroom without my walker." She studied my face suspiciously, then grabbed my phone from the side table. But in her hurry, she forgot to take the landline phone in the kitchen, an old rotary phone I'd insisted on keeping when I moved in, because it reminded me of my childhood home. 20 minutes after she left, that old phone rang. My heart pounded as I made my way slowly to the kitchen with my walker. What if it was Maggie checking on me? What if she came back and found me on the phone? But something stronger than fear compelled me to answer. "Hello, Grandma? Oh my God, I can't believe you answered. I've been trying Mom's cell phone for an hour. It was Becca. My sweet Becca, honey." I started crying immediately, just hearing her voice. "Grandma, what's wrong? You sound upset." This was my moment, the moment I'd been praying for. I looked around the empty apartment, knowing Maggie could come back at any time, and I made the most important decision of my life. "Becca, I need to tell you something. And I might not get another chance." My voice was shaking, but the words came pouring out like water through a broken dam. "Grandma, you're scaring me. Your mother. She's not taking care of me, honey. She's hurting me." The silence on the other end was deafening. "What do you mean, Grandma?" And so I told her. I told her everything. How Maggie controlled every penny of my money. How my bank account that should have had thousands of dollars was nearly empty. How she called me names, told me I was a burden, said that nobody in the family wanted me. How she kept me from my friends, my church, my other children. How she threatened to put me in a terrible nursing home if I complained. She takes my medications away when she's angry with me. I whispered. Sometimes I go days without my heart medicine or my arthritis pills. And she tells me I'm worthless, that I should be grateful nobody else wanted the burden of caring for me. I could hear Becca crying on the other end of the line. "Grandma, that's not true. None of that is true. Aunt Janet calls me every week asking about you. She's been trying to visit you for months, but Mom keeps making excuses. Uncle Michael too. We all love you so much. She said you only call out of guilt." I sobbed. "She said you think I'm too much trouble." "No, Grandma, no. I call because I love you. I've been planning to fly out there because I was so worried about you." Every time I talked to Mom, something felt wrong. She wouldn't let me talk to you directly, and when she did put you on the phone, you sounded so sad and different. Hearing those words that my family did love me, that they had been trying to see me, broke something open in my chest. All those months of believing I was unwanted, unloved, a burden, it had all been lies. "Becca, I'm so scared," I whispered. "I pray every night that God will take me home because I can't live like this anymore. I feel like I'm disappearing, like I'm already dead but my body just hasn't figured it out yet." "Don't say that, Grandma." "Please don't say that. You are not disappearing. You are loved and you are wanted, and you don't deserve any of this." I heard a car door slam outside. My blood turned to ice. "She's back," I whispered. "Becca, she's back. I have to hang up." "No, Grandma, wait. I love you, honey. I love you so much. Thank you for still loving me. Grandma, don't hang up. I'm going to help you. Do you hear me? I'm going to get you out of there." But I could hear Maggie's footsteps on the stairs. I hung up the phone and made my way back to my chair as quickly as I could, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might have a heart attack. Maggie burst through the door, her face flushed with anger and frustration from whatever had happened with Lisa. "What have you been doing while I was gone?" she demanded. "Nothing," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just watching television." She studied my face carefully, then walked over to check that my cell phone was still on the side table where she'd left it. Satisfied, she went to her room and slammed the door. I sat there in my chair, shaking from fear but also from something else, hope. For the first time in 3 years, someone knew the truth. Someone who loved me knew what was happening to me. I didn't know if Becca could really help me, or how, but I had spoken my truth to someone who believed me. And for that moment, that was enough to keep me going. I had no idea that across the country in Seattle, my granddaughter was already making phone calls that would change everything. What I didn't know was that the moment I hung up that phone, Becca was already on her laptop researching elder abuse hotlines and legal resources. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she made a series of phone calls that would orchestrate my rescue. Her first call was to her Aunt Janet, my daughter who lived 2 hours away from Maggie's apartment. "Aunt Janet, I just talked to Grandma. And something terrible is happening." Janet later told me that conversation lasted 3 hours. Becca told her everything I had shared: the financial abuse, the emotional cruelty, the isolation, the threats. Janet broke down crying because she'd sensed something was wrong but had believed Maggie's explanations about my health and memory problems. "I knew it," Janet kept saying. "I knew something wasn't right. Every time I tried to visit, Maggie had an excuse, and when I did talk to Mom, she sounded so defeated, so unlike herself." Becca's next call was to my son Michael, then to my sister Rose in Alabama, then to my pastor at the church where I'd taught Sunday school for decades. One by one, she reached out to everyone who loved me, and one by one, they all said the same thing: they'd been worried. They'd sensed something was wrong, but Maggie had convinced them it was just my age and health catching up with me. But Becca wasn't just making emotional calls. She was also contacting Adult Protective Services, documenting everything I had told her, and researching my legal rights. As a nurse, she understood how to navigate medical and social systems, and she used every bit of that knowledge to build a case. The plan she devised was careful and strategic. They couldn't just show up and demand I leave. Maggie had legal rights as my caregiver, and I had willingly moved in with her. They needed evidence, documentation, and a safe place for me to go. Janet immediately started looking into assisted living facilities near her home. Michael began researching lawyers who specialized in elder abuse cases. My pastor, Brother Williams, started organizing church members who could serve as character witnesses about my mental state and previous independence. Meanwhile, Becca booked a flight to come out for what she told Maggie would be a surprise visit to see how Grandma was doing. For 2 weeks after my confession, I lived in a strange state of suspended hope and terror. I didn't know if help was really coming or if I'd imagined that conversation with Becca. Maggie seemed more suspicious than usual, watching me closely and questioning me about every little thing. "You seem different lately, Mama," she said one morning while I was eating my breakfast. "More alert or something. Are you hiding something from me?" "No, honey," I lied, my heart racing. "I'm just having some good days, I guess." She narrowed her eyes. "Well, don't get too comfortable. Good days don't last long at your age." But even her cruelty couldn't completely dim the tiny flame of hope burning in my chest. Someone knew. Someone cared. Someone was coming. On a Thursday morning in early May, exactly 3 weeks after my confession to Becca, Maggie's phone rang while she was getting ready for work. "What? Becca? Here." "When?" I heard her say from my spot at the kitchen table. She came into the kitchen with her phone pressed to her ear, her face pale with what looked like panic. "No, this isn't a good time, Becca. Mama's been having some really bad days lately. Very confused, very agitated. I don't think seeing you would be good for her right now." My heart sank. She was going to keep Becca away just like she'd kept everyone else away. But I could hear my granddaughter's voice through the phone, firm and determined in a way I'd never heard before. "I'm already at the airport, Mom. My flight lands in 2 hours. I'll take a taxi to your apartment." Maggie's face went white. "You can't just show up like this!" "I told you. It's not a good time. I'm coming to see my grandmother, Mom. I haven't seen her in over 2 years and I miss her. I'll see you both soon." Maggie stared at the phone after Becca hung up, and I could see wheels turning in her mind. She was planning something, trying to figure out how to control this situation like she controlled everything else. "Mama," she said, turning to me with that fake, sweet voice she used when she wanted something. "Becca's coming to visit, but she's been going through a hard time lately. She's been saying some strange things about our family, making up stories. If she asks you any weird questions, you just tell her you're tired and confused, okay? We don't want to upset her with your memory problems." She was trying to get ahead of whatever Becca might ask me, trying to make me an unreliable witness to my own abuse. But for the first time in 3 years, I looked my daughter in the eye and said something she wasn't expecting. "I'll tell Becca the truth, Maggie. Whatever she asks me, I'll tell her the truth." The mask slipped completely off her face then. The fury in her eyes was terrifying, but I wasn't backing down anymore. "You don't know what truth is anymore, old woman. You're confused and sick, and if you start telling lies to Becca, I'll make sure you end up in the kind of nursing home where they tie you to your bed and feed you through a tube." But her threats didn't scare me anymore. In 2 hours, someone who loved me was walking through that door, and I was going to tell her everything. Again, I had found my voice, and I wasn't going to lose it again. Those 2 hours felt like 2 days. Maggie paced around the apartment like a caged animal, cleaning obsessively and muttering to herself. She kept checking her appearance in the mirror and practicing what she was going to say. "Remember, Mama," she said for the 10th time, "you've been having memory problems, confusion, bad days. Don't go filling Becca's head with nonsense." But I just sat in my chair, calmer than I'd been in 3 years. My granddaughter was coming, and I was ready to tell her everything. At exactly 1:30 in the afternoon, there was a knock on the door. Maggie took a deep breath, put on her brightest fake smile, and opened it. "Becca! Sweetheart! What a surprise!" But when I saw my granddaughter walk through that door, I started crying. She looked exactly like I remembered, beautiful, strong, and kind, but there was something different in her eyes, a determination I'd never seen before. "Hi, Mom," she said, giving Maggie a brief hug before walking straight to me. "And hello, my beautiful grandmother." She knelt down beside my chair and took my hands in hers, looking directly into my eyes. "How are you, Grandma? And I want you to tell me the truth." I could feel Maggie watching us from across the room, but I didn't care anymore. "I'm tired, honey," I said. "So very tired." "I know you are," Becca whispered, squeezing my hands. "But I'm here now." Maggie immediately jumped in, her voice artificially cheerful. "Mama's been having some tough days lately. The doctor says it's normal for people her age." Memory issues, confusion, you know how it is. Becca stood up slowly and turned to face her mother. What doctor, Mom? Because I called Dr. Peterson's office yesterday, and they said Grandma hasn't been in for a checkup in over 8 months. The color drained from Maggie's face. Well, we've been seeing a different doctor. Someone closer. What's their name? I'd like to speak with them about Grandma's care. Maggie opened and closed her mouth like a fish, clearly scrambling for an answer. That's when I found my voice. There is no other Dr. Becca. She won't take me to see Dr. Peterson anymore because he asks too many questions about my medications and my weight loss. Mama, you're confused again, Maggie said quickly, but her voice was shaking now. Remember what we talked about? I'm not confused, I said louder than I'd spoken in months. I'm 72 years old, and my mind is as sharp as it's ever been, and I'm tired of being treated like I'm stupid. Becca smiled at me with such pride in her eyes. That's my grandmother, the strongest woman I know. She turned back to Maggie. Mom, we need to talk. Privately. There's nothing to talk about. I've been taking wonderful care of Mama. Ask her yourself. I did ask her, 3 weeks ago, and she told me everything. The silence in that room was deafening. Maggie's face went through a series of expressions: shock, fear, anger, and then something cold and calculating. I don't know what lies she's been telling you, but your grandmother has been having episodes. Paranoid delusions. The doctor said it might be the beginning of dementia. Stop it, I said firmly. Just stop it, Maggie. I told her the truth about how you've been treating me. And I'm not taking it back. That's when Maggie's composure finally cracked completely. The truth? She screamed. You want to know the truth? The truth is that nobody else wanted you. Janet was too busy. Michael was too far away. And your precious church friends disappeared the minute you needed real help. I'm the only one who was willing to sacrifice my life to take care of an ungrateful old woman who does nothing but complain. That's enough! Becca's voice cut through the room like a blade. Don't you dare speak to her like that! She's my mother! I'll speak to her however I want! Do you have any idea what I've given up for her? My social life, my dating life, my freedom, all gone because of her. No one asked you to sacrifice anything, I said quietly. I asked you to help me, not to steal from me and abuse me. Steal from you? Maggie laughed bitterly. Every penny of your money has gone to keeping you alive. Food, rent, utilities, medicine. Then you won't mind showing us the bank statements. Becca interrupted. All of them. And the receipts for Grandma's medical expenses. Maggie's mouth snapped shut. That's what I thought, Becca said. Mom, what you've been doing is called elder abuse. It's a crime, and it stops today. You can't take her away from me, Maggie said, and now there were tears in her eyes. She's my mother. I have legal rights, and she has legal rights too. The right not to be financially exploited, the right not to be emotionally abused, the right to see her family and friends, the right to make her own medical decisions. Becca pulled out her phone. I've already been in contact with Adult Protective Services and a lawyer who specializes in elder abuse cases. Grandma, if you want to leave here, you can leave. Today. Right now. I have a place ready for you, and people who love you waiting to help you rebuild your life. I looked at my granddaughter, this strong, brave young woman who had traveled across the country to save me, and then I looked at Maggie, my daughter, the child I had loved and tried to help despite all her problems over the years. I love you, Maggie, I said softly. I always will. But I won't let you hurt me anymore. I deserve better than this, and deep down you know it. Maggie broke down then, sobbing like a child. Please don't leave me. Mama? I'm sorry. I'll do better. I promise I'll do better. But I had heard those promises before, many times over the years. And I finally understood that love without respect, without kindness, without basic human dignity isn't love at all. Help me pack my things, Becca, I said. I'm ready to go home. That was 18 months ago. As I sit here today in my beautiful room at Sunrise Manor Assisted Living, Looking out at the garden where I tend my own little plot of tomatoes again, it feels like I'm living in a different lifetime. The transition wasn't easy. After 3 years of being told I was worthless, confused, and a burden, it took time to remember who Dorothy Mae Williams really was. But with love, patience, and proper care, I found myself again. Becca had researched Sunrise Manor carefully. It's only 30 minutes from Janet's house, so my daughter visits twice a week. Michael drives down from the city every other weekend. My church friends found me within a week of my arrival and welcomed me back into their weekly Bible study group. I even started teaching Sunday school again for the children here at the facility. The legal process was complicated, but justice was served. With the help of Becca's lawyer, we were able to recover most of the money Maggie had stolen from my accounts. It turned out she'd been taking far more than I'd realized, nearly $45,000 over 3 years. She was charged with financial exploitation of an elderly person and sentenced to community service and restitution payments. More importantly, Adult Protective Services now has a file on her. If she ever tries to care for another elderly person, there will be a record of what she did to me. But this story isn't really about revenge or even justice. It's about rediscovering that I had value, that I was worthy of love and respect, and that speaking the truth, even when it's terrifying, can set you free. The woman who prayed every night for God to take her home now wakes up every morning grateful for another day. I have my weekly bridge game with 3 other ladies who've become dear friends. I volunteer in the facility's library, helping other residents find books they enjoy. I video call with Becca every Sunday, and she's planning to bring her new boyfriend to meet me at Christmas. My health improved dramatically once I was getting proper medical care and nutrition. Dr. Peterson was shocked at how much weight I'd lost and how my medications had been mismanaged, but with consistent care, I'm stronger now than I've been in years. I walk without my walker most days, and my arthritis pain is well controlled. The staff here treats me with dignity and kindness. When I need help, they help me without making me feel like a burden. When I want privacy, they respect that. When I want to socialize, there are activities and friends available. This is what care is supposed to look like, not control disguised as love, but genuine concern for my well-being and happiness. Do I still think about Maggie? Of course I do. She's my daughter. And despite everything she put me through, I love her. But I love her from a distance now, with boundaries that protect both of us. She's started going to counseling, according to Janet, and she's working to pay back the money she stole. I hope someday she'll understand that what she did was wrong, not just legally but morally. I hope she'll find a healthier way to deal with her own pain and anger. But my healing doesn't depend on her apology or her recovery. I've learned that I can't control other people, but I can control how I respond to them. I can choose to protect myself while still holding space for forgiveness. I can love someone and still refuse to let them hurt me. The hardest lesson was learning to trust my own voice again. For 3 years I was told that my feelings didn't matter, that my perceptions were wrong, that my needs were too much trouble. It took months of gentle encouragement from friends, family, and counselors to believe that my experiences were valid and that I deserved to be heard. Now I speak up when something isn't right. I ask questions when I don't understand something. I express my preferences about my meals, my activities, my medical care. My voice matters and I use it. I also share my story with others. There's a support group here for people who've experienced abuse, and I facilitate it twice a month. You'd be surprised how many elderly people have stories similar to mine, children or caregivers who took advantage of their trust and vulnerability. We help each other heal, and we help each other recognize the warning signs so others don't have to suffer in silence like I did. To anyone listening to this who might be in a situation like mine was, please know this. You are not alone, you are not crazy, and you don't deserve to be treated badly by anyone, even family members who claim they love you. Love doesn't hurt, Love doesn't steal. Love doesn't isolate you from other people who care about you. Love doesn't make you feel small or worthless or like a burden. If someone in your life is doing these things to you, reach out for help. Call Adult Protective Services. Tell a friend, a neighbor, a pastor, a doctor, anyone who will listen. There are people who want to help you, and there are laws that protect you. You are valuable. You are worthy of respect, and you deserve to live your golden years with dignity and joy. And if you're someone who knows an elderly person whose situation doesn't seem right, don't ignore your instincts. Ask questions. Make that phone call. Show up uninvited if you have to. My granddaughter saved my life by refusing to accept the excuses and lies she was being told. I'm 74 years old now, and I've never been happier. I wake up every morning in a place where I'm safe, respected, and loved. I have friends who enjoy my company, family who visit regularly, and activities that give my life meaning and purpose. I tend my tomatoes, teach children about faith and kindness, and share my story so others might find the courage to speak their own truth. God didn't take me home when I was praying to die in that apartment. Instead, He brought me home to myself, to the strong, valuable, beloved woman I had forgotten I was. Sometimes miracles don't look like what we expect. Sometimes they look like a granddaughter who refuses to give up, a family that rallies around you, and the courage to finally say, I deserve better than this. My name is Dorothy Mae Williams, and this is my story of surviving elder abuse and finding my way back to joy. If you're listening to this and you're in a dark place right now, please hold on to hope. Your story isn't over yet, and there are people who want to help you write a better ending. Thank you for listening, and remember, you are never too old to start over, and it's never too late to find your voice.